Binge the full week of The Ray Taylor Show ad-free over at inspireddisorder.com/plus.
This is The Ray Taylor Show.
Swipe up. This is the show where I share my opinions on current events. This is the 184th episode of the show that just makes trolls cry. Makes them want to get on my comment section and tell me how wrong I am. But let's get it started, shall we, with with the first story that's probably going to get me called names, very specific names that aren't very nice to call me. But let's start off with this first story. Florida Republicans are trying to punish Disney after it opposes the Don't Say Gay bill. Obviously, this has been going on for a while. DeSantis is now removing, I think it passed by the time this post came out, but by the time I'm recording this, I believe in Florida they passed the bill or whatever that removes Disney's ability to self-govern their theme parks, which is insane that Disney was ever given that ability to begin with. Giving any company the ability to self-govern in any way is horrible. It does no good for people. But what removing this thing does is it's apparently going to raise the taxes for all the people who live in that area by quite a bit, and they are reframing the reasoning for doing this as a way to promote a free market. It's weird how there's only like a handful of things that Republicans and right-wing conservatives use as ways to justify their actions, right? It's the free and open market. It is protecting children, family values, Christian values. They use all of these things in order to remove the rights and freedoms for a wide swath of people. If you are not a straight white person, the freedoms afforded to you are far less because of how they choose to frame all of their laws in a lot of these states. And it's funny, I am not a fan of Disney. So best case scenario for me is that Disney and Florida kill each other. They just fight to the death and neither of them survive. Maybe Netflix buys up the Marvel properties for pennies. And we get to see some interesting rated R movies from the Marvel universe. Maybe what Star Wars gets picked up by like Amazon or something like that, and we actually get to see some interesting Star Wars movies instead of just regurgitated garbage that most Star Wars movies are. I would be good with that. Pixar spins off into its own thing. It doesn't need to associate itself with Disney any longer. I'm not a big fan of Disney. It's actually a bummer that Florida has gone anti-Disney because all of it kind of overshadows the real bad things that Disney is actually doing, like stealing from artists, like not paying their actors appropriately, screwing them over, just buying up all kinds of intellectual property to where we're really not going to see edgy movies in any of these properties because they're all owned by Disney. We're going to see just things getting price gouged left and right because Disney really only cares about money. There's a lot of reasons not to like Disney, and you don't have to make up the fact that they are groomers to do so. You don't have to make up situations. It's all they have is to make up the fact that Disney is involved with grooming kids, because they are such a conservative company. Like, you want to talk about a production company that makes movies that has little representation. I mean, only recently has Disney put out movies that feature people that aren't like white. I mean, I guess like Aladdin a little bit, but most of everything in Disney has been whitewashed. And no movies are led by a person that is non-straight. Like there are no queer or gay stars in any of these movies. They are not telling stories that are anything other than the straight story of heterosexual love. So I don't know. It's crazy. I mean, they just make stuff up anyway. I mean, that's just kind of the go-to game plan for conservatives, to just fabricate reasons to hate something, really, in order to just like take away rights. But I would love for Disney and Florida to just kill each other, because I don't care about Florida, and really don't care about Disney. I don't think I'm not one of. It's like, and it's weird the fact that the kind of fandom that Disney has is not much different than the fandom that the whole MAGA Trumper type of thing is. I mean, they love their merchandise. They are very loyal. I mean, they have so many similarities. It is really disgusting on both levels, in my opinion. But anyway. And now a quick word from our sponsor. Now you can wear the many faces. Original art by Ray Taylor. Select pieces from the ongoing series of abstract ink paintings. All products made with high quality materials, made right here in the USA. Go to inspireddisorder.com/TMF merch to browse the entire collection and save yourself an extra 10% when you check out by using coupon code RTSTMF. So once again, go to inspireddisorder.com/TMF merch and save 10% when you use coupon code RTSTMF. And now, back to our show. Moving on. Meta is racing to release its first pair of augmented reality glasses in 2024. This is going to be a technology that not only Meta is racing to release, but Apple, guaranteed Apple is. Microsoft has been working on it for a while now. I'm sure Google, with Google Glasses, is working on it. I mean, Apple's been in the wearable tech game longer than most. And it's sad that Mark Zuckerberg he says he wants to have like an iPhone moment, which when Steve Jobs announced the iPhone, leading up to that, he wasn't like, I want to have a light bulb moment. He didn't say that was the one crazy thing about Apple, is that they are very secretive about the things that they're going to release. Not that Apple invented the touchscreen phone, but they perfected it in a way that everybody else mimicked. I mean, all smartphones come from that original iPhone. No company did it the right way until Apple did it the right way. And to think that Facebook is going to be the company that does it the right way is laughable, is very laughable. But as far as the technology, I'm stoked for that. I would much rather have augmented reality glasses than virtual reality glasses. I would rather be wearing glasses that, one, will probably fix my vision, but also, augmented reality give you like a heads-up display on things. I can have like a movie playing over here. I could have my computer screen over here just floating in midair, and not have to own TVs, not have to own monitors, put little earbuds, Bluetooth earbuds, or have the bone conduction, whatever that technology is for the speakers. But I'm all for that. I mean, it's just a matter of time before that technology not only comes out, but gets to a point where it's just like a contact lens. Or if it's Elon Musk's technology where he puts a chip in you, the whole matrixy kind of a deal, the implant, that will change as well. I mean, if you could have a chip implanted, then you can have augmented vision just by way of that interface. So it'll be interesting to see in this race of all of these tech companies racing to a very similar destination, to see which one comes out on top. which one comes out first and best. And I'm not going to hold my breath that Meta is the company to do it. But it's good for Mark Zuckerberg to like call his shot, I guess. And that's the thing. Steve Jobs never had to call his shot. He just did it, and he kept it a secret, and he did the perfect announcements. The way that the Apple events when they announced new products was a must-watch event for any tech person. I would get emotional watching them announce, like when they announced the iPhone. I was like, holy shit. I think that's when I bought my first Mac. I got a Mac Pro because I was doing a lot of web design. I was doing a lot of graphic design, and kind of started very short after that, started doing podcasting. But yeah, it's interesting that Zuckerberg thinks he's going to be the first. I don't know, just because he's definitely the most vocal about it, but 1,000%. Obviously, you have Microsoft with the HoloLens. That's been for years. They've been trying to do that. Google Glasses, same type of deal. And Apple's working on it. They just don't talk about stuff that they're working on. They just release stuff when they release stuff, and they like the surprise element of it. And out of all of the technology companies that make hardware, Apple is still like the dominant force. Aside from like the Android operating system, which is, open source, so that's why you see it on a lot of hardware. Google's not making hardware. Microsoft has a hit or miss. I mean, the Xbox is the best hardware Microsoft has ever made. Their MP3 players were garbage. Their phones were garbage. The only thing Microsoft hardware-wise that's been successful is their Xbox line of products. So, and then with Facebook or Meta, they bought Oculus. So that's the hardware that they're making. But VR and AR are different. So I'm sure it's probably the Oculus team that's working on this augmented reality glasses, but they've got a lot of competition, and I don't know. I think Zuckerberg saying it, he's hoping that helps to increase stock prices. I'm sure he's trying to get people to think that he is on the cusp of the bleeding edge of technology, when the reality is, if you follow tech in any way or have ever followed tech, like it's not. I mean, it's 2 years before you plan on releasing it. It's like, okay, it's not like an announcement that you're hopeful for. An announcement is not. It's pretty weak sauce, in my opinion. So I am excited for the technology of augmented reality, but not if I were putting bets on a tech company to come out with the successful version, I would say that Apple would probably be the one I would put my money on. Definitely would make way more sense on a variety. I mean, from a hardware quality standpoint, user interface generally. I mean, I prefer their operating system to Windows. I prefer it to Google. Not that everything that they make is great, but I would say. And as far as like having loyalty, brand loyalty, Apple's got solid brand loyalty, and they make solid stuff. And even with their new release of like the Studio, like they're basically their Mac Mini on steroids. Like the direction they're going in is, I think, very stable, I would say, with their Apple Watches and everything. It seems like they're still putting out high quality everything, their phones, all of that stuff. So I would put my money on Apple being the first out of the gate. Maybe not with the best. There probably companies will come out with better functioning, glasses or whatever, but Apple's going to have it's going to have the sweet spot, I think. Anyway, moving on. That's just my assumption, my predictions for the technology. Moving on, Netflix seems like it's finally cracking down. It will finally be cracking down on password sharing. Their numbers, they're down 200,000 subscribers in their, I think, the first quarter of the year. And they are testing out a lot of things to try and keep people from sharing passwords. They're like doing trial versions in different countries to see what works, and it's something that they want to. Again, similarly to Meta and their augmented reality, they have a 2-year kind of a window when they plan on implementing more of these changes. But I would say, if I had to guess, again, putting on my little hypothesis hat of technology, why Netflix is having problems isn't because the password sharing. Yes, that's been going on forever, but it's not, it's guaranteed. I mean, if you do crack down on this, I think it's just going to lead to less people having Netflix because the price of Netflix keeps going up despite the fact that nothing's really changed. They do a lot of original content, but I think part of it is Netflix has had a lot of public scrutiny over the past few years with people that they've done business with, similarly like Dave Chappelle. His most recent specials have had a lot of criticism for his transphobic focus, which is sad to see. A comic that I used to consider to be the best comic working. He's turned into so many comics that have just dug their heels in the sand and are just slowly turning into conservatives. Similarly to Joe Rogan, who he's buddies with, they're progressively more and more becoming more and more conservative, and they're rich, they're out of touch. There was a big uproar with that, and Netflix stood behind their artists, which on some level I appreciate that, Netflix is backing their artists. They're not going to, but then there's also culturally, because of that, there's going to be repercussions. And I think probably a lot of people canceled their subscriptions. There's going to be a percentage of people that canceled their Netflix subscriptions because of that, because of they're done with that. Similarly to how I stopped being a UFC fan completely because Disney raised the pay-per-view prices twice, actually I think 3 times during the pandemic. And it just became way too expensive. I mean, it's what Disney does, is they overcharge for everything. And I just got to a point where I no longer wanted to give Disney my money. And for that, I'm no longer a fan of any sport now. I'm not a fan of any sport. And I'm not excited for any Disney movie that comes out. So there's going to be a percentage of people that canceled Netflix because of the Chappelle thing, or vice versa. I mean, people could, but also they don't get a lot of great movies. There's more competition now than ever for Netflix. I mean, you compare Netflix to HBO Max. HBO Max not only is putting out solid original content, but also great movies. Like movies that were in theaters not that long ago, like The Batman, are offered up available on HBO, and you're not really getting those same kinds of movies, and also great classic movies that you just don't necessarily get on Netflix. There are some here and there, but it doesn't seem to be at the quality that some of the other streaming services are at, and especially for the price that you have to pay for Netflix. I mean, most other streaming services cost less than Netflix. So I would assume that the price increase, the lack of quality content, the political sides that Netflix is taking, all of those things I think are contributing to the fact that Netflix is down 200,000 subscribers to what they projected. Which also, it's like, you're going to plateau at some point. You're going to get, like, there's only so many people are going to sign up. And then you have to change to, like, appease the shareholders because you can't get more subscribers, then you have to find other ways to increase profit. So you do that by increasing the subscription price. You do that by cracking down on who's logging in with a password that's not localized, which will be interesting how they handle that. Because it's like, what if you have two homes and you have a Netflix password in LA, but then you have another house out in Oregon, and you go to Oregon and you have to have a separate Netflix account because you live in two houses, because they're going to crack down and because you're not in the same location. Like, I think it's going to cause a lot more problems than it is benefit, and it's a short-sighted benefit too. Because whenever they implement it, there's going to be a big jump in whoever decides to go with Netflix. But then overall, some of those people are going to go away, or they're going to find other ways to get around it. And in the long run, I think they're screwing themselves. But it's interesting. Maybe they'll get bought up by somebody. That happens all the time. I don't know who would buy Netflix, but probably Disney. I could see Disney buying Netflix just because Disney buys everything. But anyway, we'll see what happens with that. I mean, it's a 2-year thing. Like, by the time augmented reality is supposed to be coming out for Meta is the same time that Netflix is going to be cracking down on passwords. So we'll see if either of those actually hit the mark. Join Inspired Disorder Plus today. Head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus to join. Membership includes members-only discounts and deals. You get access to the Ray Taylor Show completely ad-free, as well as bonus episodes. You get access to the complete live painting archive. You also get access to every single podcast ever produced by Inspired Disorder, hosted by Ray Taylor. You get access to Ray Taylor's personal blog, as well as the opportunity to ask me any questions. So if you want to start a podcast, you're into art, ask me anything. And so many more things are being added every day to Inspired Disorder Plus. So sign up today, become a member, head on over to inspireddisorder.com/plus and become an Inspired Disorder Plus member today. But moving on to our final story, hospitals are turning to robots to help with nursing burnout. There's a hospital out in Virginia, Fredericksburg, Virginia, that started implementing. They added 2 robots to their nursing crew to help transport different things around the hospital. And it says it's freed up 600 hours of time, which has helped the nurses avoid burnout, which is good, but is also a very convenient way to start replacing people with robots, saying that they are helping the people. Oh, we're freeing, instead of hiring more nurses, we're going to start investing in robots. We're going to be the pilot program to where eventually most nurses will not be people. Eventually, nurses will be replaced with robots, and the way they're selling it is that we're helping the nurses avoid burnout. This is just one more example of robots taking over, which is going to happen. All driving jobs are going to be gone. Delivery jobs are going to be gone. Jobs like nursing is going to be gone. A lot of doctor surgeries, manufacturing is already primarily robots. A lot of jobs that used to be held by human beings are going to be robots within the next 10 years. Easily within the next 10 years. And they're all going to be sold to the public with this idea that they're helping. Meanwhile, that they're eliminating jobs, and at the same time, some states, some cities are making it illegal to be poor. Like, it's illegal. I forget which state it was that recently passed a thing that made it illegal to be homeless. And it's just, some state that wants to fill up private prisons. It's going to be, prison growth in this country, private prison growth, mark my words, Mark Zuckerberg is trying to predict when his augmented reality is going to be this iPhone moment. I am going to predict that the biggest growth in this company, aside from robots, aside from augmented reality, is going to be private prisons, and how many are going to be built, how many are going to be filled with all the people that can't afford to live anywhere because minimum wage is still $7.25 or $7, whatever it is. It's impossible to live on minimum wage in this country. It's impossible to live in, even double minimum wage. It's almost impossible to live. Like, it's ridiculous. The world that we have built for ourselves in this country, the world that capitalism has created for us to exist in, is going to be one in which there are just people who are unable to make ends meet are going to be filling private prisons. That is my prediction. And it's going to be sold in this manner where robots... There's a great short film that's on HBO Max, and I'm blanking on the name, but it's a great short film, like sci-fi short film, near future, where it's like this kid walking down the street and a drone, a quadcopter comes down, and it's a police quadcopter, and it says he's arrested. And he's like constantly asking, what did he get arrested for? He doesn't know what he did. He's never, properly charged. He gets taken to a prison. Like, at no point he's the only actor really in this whole short film. He goes to this prison. Everything's automated. There's a screen that pops up that like tells them like, oh, you can hire a lawyer, or you can get a public defender. And it's like, if you get a public defender, you're going to be here for 10 years. If you have $1 million, you can hire this private lawyer. It's a crazy, and it's like he was never told, like it was all a mistake that he was in there to begin with, but everything's automated, so there's nobody. It's like trying to contact customer service when something doesn't work. That's how our legal system, potentially, according to this short film, is going to be. And I could see that, everything being automated, because it's humans, you have to pay humans. But you don't have to pay robots, you just have to maintain them. You don't have to pay automated systems. You just have to get them pay to get them created. But once they're there, it's way cheaper than actually paying people to live. So anyway, on the short term, I'm glad that in this hospital, nurses are avoiding burnout. But if they don't know that they are just the beta test for eventually eliminating humans from the nursing profession and replacing humans with robots, then only like high-end hospitals will have a personal, like an actual human there for like nostalgia purposes, and all they do is like hold your hand or whatever. They don't really do much. They're just there as a human presence. But anyway, that's it. Let me do some shout-outs and get out of here. Shout out to BuzzFeed News. Shout out to Verge. Shout out to Slash Film. Shout out to Wired. But most importantly, shout out to you. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on YouTube and everywhere our podcasts are found. Binge the full week over at InspiredDisorder.com/plus. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at InspiredDisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Peace out!
Today is the day where you wake up and you realize that everything that you've been dreaming about, everything that you've been wanting, every goal and wish and hope that you've ever had can become real. Dreams can come true. What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.